Welcome to another class. Today's topic is a very popular topic, but with a little twist. So today's topic is franchise and election. Now, a lot of people do think franchise and election are the same thing, but they are slightly different. So let's start with the meaning of franchise. Now, franchise can be defined as the political rights of a qualified adult, male or female, to vote and be voted for in any political election. So the idea of franchise simply means franchise is actually the right you have to vote in an election. That is the idea of franchise. Is the right you have to vote in an election. So that's the simple meaning of franchise. So let's move to the types of franchise. We have two types of franchise. We have limited or restricted franchise, and we have unlimited franchise or universal adult suffrage. Now, limited limited or restricted franchise. Under this one, they said the right to vote or be voted for is restricted to certain criteria. This criteria can include sex, race, residential qualification, education, or religion. So what are they trying to say here? They're trying to say the right to vote certain times can be restricted to certain factors. Now, those factors can include sex or gender, which is maybe they say, okay, for this election, only men should vote, or for this election, only females should vote. Now, in terms of race, they can say, okay, in this election, only black should vote. In this election, only white should vote. Or residential qualification, they can actually say, okay, if you are not living in this particular area, let's say maybe they want the people in Lagos to vote, or maybe they are voting for maybe a local government chairman or something. They say, okay, if you are not living in this local government, you cannot vote. So that is an example of limited or restricted franchise when there is a factor that is limiting your right to vote. Then unlimited franchise or universal adult suffrage. That is, it is a popular type of franchise and most universally acknowledged. It is a situation whereby all qualified men and women are allowed to vote and be voted for. Now, in Nigeria, once you are 18, you're a citizen or a permanent resident in Nigeria, you are allowed to vote. That's like the basic requirement. So once you have those requirements, you're allowed to vote. You don't have restrictions, you can vote. Unlike limited or restricted franchise in which there are still other factors you still have to put in place before you can vote. For unlimited, once you are an adult, you have your voter's card, you're a citizen or you're a permanent resident, you are allowed to vote. So that is the difference between limited and unlimited franchise. Do we understand? You can reply. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We are hearing you, sir.
All right, great. All right. So let's move to the next one. Types of suffrage. Now, as I was explaining under limited um franchise, now look at these types of suffrage. We have adult suffrage. Now, adult suffrage simply means that means in this election, only adults are allowed to vote. Children cannot vote. You get so, or they can even give a time. They can give a age range that okay between 35 to 60 are allowed to vote because, or maybe from 18 to whatever age are allowed to vote. Those are adult suffrage. That is adult suffrage. The situation whereby they only allow adults to vote in an election. Then we have the male suffrage. This is a situation whereby they only allow the males to vote in an election. They only allow males to vote in an election. I think there would also be female suffrage, but it was not part of the textbook I used, so I didn't include it. Then we have taxpayer suffrage. Taxpayer is someone that pays tax, maybe to a country, to a state, or something, he pays tax. So there are certain elections in which they only allow taxpayers, people they've proven to have tax records, they are the only ones that are allowed to vote in that election. Then we have the last one, property suffrage. Now, property suffrage is a type of election in which they only allow people with enormous properties, like people that have so let's move, that's all about franchise. So let's move to election. Now, unlike franchise, which is the political right, election, hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
All right, great. So let's talk about election, which is a very popular topic. So today's class is going to be really fast, so we can do revision of our other classes and try to juggle up our memory. So, meaning of election. Now, election is defined as the act of choosing candidates to represent the people of a given country in the parliament, the executive, and possibly into other areas of government as stipulated in the constitution of that country. So, election is like the action in which you select, in which you pick the candidate you want. Election is all about the act, the whole situation, the whole action that has to do with selecting a new candidate for any political position as stipulated in the constitution. So when we are talking about election, it involves and the people that are voting and those that will be voted for. So for election is all about the action of picking a candidate, going to a polling booth, you pick a candidate. I think the next topic is going to talk about the types of balloting, secret ballot, open ballots. That's like the next topic. But let's still stick to the meaning of election and then we move. So let's move to the next one. We have the purpose of election. Now, the number one purpose of election, they said there is change in government which makes it easier for the people to remove a bad government. Why? One of the purpose of election is to replace a government, and not only to replace it, but to replace it peacefully. So because of election, if if a country has experienced bad governance or has experienced a very terrible leader for some years, they can choose to remove that leader when election comes. So election allows for you to change your government peacefully without any issues. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's move to the next one. It gives elected representatives the legitimate right to rule. Now, in government, I think the second or third topic in government, basic concepts in government, you would see legitimacy. Legitimacy simply means the acceptance of people, the acceptance of a government by the people. That is legitimacy. So election allows anybody that is put in a political position, it allows them to be legitimately, like they are legitimately put there. So every position that they attain as a result of that election is legitimate. So election allows for legitimacy. Without election, there's no legitimacy. A person cannot just stand up and say, I'm the president of the country. No, nobody would allow. It is not legal. But once the person is voted in, then that becomes legitimate. That becomes binding. That becomes constitutionalized. Do you get what I'm saying? So let's move to the next one, which is the people have the free choice of choosing leaders. Now, thank God for secret balloting, in which you can vote without nobody knowing who you are voting for. For election allows you to pick a leader you want. There are various people that are going to be contesting for election in 2023. So election allows you to pick whoever you want, none of them. You don't need to pick the popular, you don't need to pick the unpopular. Anyone you feel you want to pick, election allows you to pick it. You are not restricted to who you are to pick. No. You can pick any of the people that want to and they're actually applying for a political position, they are contesting for a political position. So election allows you to be able to choose freely from people that want to go into a political position. Next one, it ensures control and accountability. Now, because of election, a lot of leaders know that okay, in Nigeria now 4 years is actually the timeline for every for in the federal level, state level is 4 years for your political office. So every leader or every political office holder knows that at the end of 4 years, they would actually have to leave the place. And at the end of 4 years, because that, for example, the president enjoys immunity. I think the president, vice president, and senate president enjoys immunity. And then the governor enjoys immunity also. Now, these are people that when they are in power, they cannot be charged of any crime. But they know that immediately a new election comes in and they leave power, they can be charged for any crime that they commit during the office. So because of that, because they know that they cannot be in that office forever, they would make sure that they control themselves. They will make sure that they behave themselves when they are ruling a particular country, a particular state, or any political position they find themselves. They make sure that they are accountable for their actions. They make sure that every decision they make, they are in line with the law, because they know that after certain years they would leave and then people will investigate them. So election allows, it ensures that control, and it ensures that it ensures control and accountability. That means it makes sure that any political office holder is accountable for his action. Every political office holder is still under the law. Yeah, according to the concept of rule of law, nobody is above the law. So election allows to remind these political office holders that even after leaving, even after being elected in a political position, you know that you have a timeline. After that timeline, you can be removed through election. So that is the idea of it ensures control and accountability. Now, next one is fosters democracy. We all know democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And then the only one of the most important or the most visible way that people involve themselves in government is through election. People involve themselves in government through election, through voting an election, through contesting an election. These are ways the people involve themselves in government. So election allows people to be a part of the government. And when the people are part of the government, it is under one of the principles of democracy. People, because democracy is rooted in the people. So election allows people to be involved in government. Therefore, election fosters democracy. And let's go to the next one. Electorates are educated about their rights. During election, we tend to get a lot of political education. We tend to be taught about our rights, our responsibilities, what we can do, what we cannot do, everything that has to do with politics. We tend to learn them during election period. You would learn about manifestos. You will learn about you learn about the agendas. You learn about different political positions that you might not even know about until during election time. So election actually allows people to be educated, not only even about their rights, but about every other thing that's to do with politics. Now the last one, election enhances equality of citizens' votes. Now what are we trying to say? Election ensures that everybody is allocated just one vote. For every political position you are voting for, you're only allowed to vote once. So it makes it equal. It's not as if because you are the former president you have 5 votes, or because you are the former senator you have 10 votes. No. Election ensures equality. It makes sure that everybody has equal rights, one vote for everybody. So election ensures that there is equality not only for the citizens' votes, but even equality in the country, because nobody will be given 2 votes. No, you would only, even the current president at the time of election will be given just one vote. So is that clear? Before I move to the next, before I move to the next point, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So let's move to types of election. Now, these two are actually like the most important types of election. They are the most common types of election. You have the direct election. That election involves casting their votes directly in a political election for a candidate of their choice. Now, direct election is what we do in Nigeria, in which we go to a polling booth, we vote for somebody, we wait for the results. That is direct election, in which the electorates they are electing people directly. It's not as if there's a middleman. No, there's no middleman. It's we the people that are voting for the person that would come into power. That is direct election. For indirect election is actually a different one entirely. Indirect election, this one does not involve we going directly to vote. No, it involves people we call it involves like how do I explain it? Selected people. There will be selected people that will form something they call the electoral college. Let me read what I have here. It is a system whereby the legislature or local government unit will form the body known as the Electoral College. They will have to vote for the candidate of their choice as a result of the failure of the general elections to produce elected candidates. Now, the idea of indirect election is there will be a body that will be formed. This body is going to represent most likely each local government of the country, or any way they sectionalize the country, those people will represent each section, each part of the country as they've sectionalized it. Now, these people that are representing will be the ones to cast the vote. So what are we trying to say? Let's say, for example, they said, okay, one person represents each state in Nigeria. So one person represents Lagos, one person represents Gombe, one person represents Abuja, one person represents Imo. So now, at the end of the day, we have like 36 people, let's say that 7 people that are actually representing the whole country. Now that 37 people can form the electoral college. Now, when these 37 people come together, there's this 37 people that will vote. So now those 37 people are representing the whole country. That is the concept of indirect election. Or like direct election that we practice in Nigeria, in which everybody goes to a polling booth and then they cast their vote. Indirect election, nobody is going to the polling booth. There's actually an electoral college that is formed. Now that electoral college will be the one to cast the vote on behalf of the people. So that is the two different types of election. Now, is that clear before I move to the other types of election? Is that clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear, sir.
All right, great. I think some people just joined us. Anyway, don't worry, I will do an overview at the end. We're actually almost at the end of the class. But before we do very short revision for the next 20 minutes. Then I have the last one, the other types of election. Remember, we talked about direct election and indirect election. Now we have other types of election. These are elections that a lot of people are not familiar about, but they exist. Now we have by-election. Now by-election is actually the election that is carried out when a person in a political position dies or retires. Let's say, for example, maybe a person that is ruling a particular place dies, or the person decides to retire, or the person decides to resign. These are the three factors that can cause by election. Either the person dies, retires, or resigns. Those are the only three ways that by-election can be carried out. So if a political office holder resigns, or a political office holder dies, or a political office holder resigns, dies, and what's the last one that I called it? Resign. Who remembers the third one? Resign,
Or die.
die. Yeah, resign, die, and then I called the last one, which is retire. Retire. So if if a political office holder resigns, dies, or retire, there will be a by-election. That by-election is like an emergency election to replace that person. So if a local government chairman dies, definitely they will need another local government chairman almost immediately. So there has to be a by-election to put in another local government chairman. So that is the idea of by-election. Now we have what we call the runoff election or second ballot. Now this is different from by-election. The runoff election is an election that comes up when the general election has been carried out, and then we have two candidates that have the same number of votes. What am I trying to say? If they actually carry out an election, yeah, and then the two candidates, let's say APC and PDP, both of them have the same votes. Let's say both of them have like maybe 21 million, 21 million votes. So both of them have the same number of votes. Therefore, they have to conduct a runoff election or a second ballot to determine the winner. So in that situation, unlike maybe general election, in which you have like maybe 20 or 50 candidates, for a runoff election, it will be between the people that have the same number of votes. So a runoff election or a second ballot election is for a situation whereby two people or two or more candidates share the same number of votes, and then they have to they have to carry out another election to make sure that they pick a winner. So that is That is one of election or second ballot. So the third one, we have primary election. We should be familiar with primary election. Primary election is actually that election that political parties carry out to pick the person that will represent them in an election. For example, currently I think in APC we have Tinubu, we have Professor Yemi Osinbajo and like some other people that pick that want to that actually they have shown their interest to be the president in and to represent APC for presidency. Now, all these candidates cannot represent APC at once. No, they have to pick one person. So, in order to pick that one person, they have to conduct a primary election. And that primary election is what is used to pick the candidate that will represent the political party. Now, the last one is referendum or plebiscite. Now, this is a very simple kind of vote. This is a very simple kind of election. It's actually the election that happens in um, mostly in the legislative arm, in which they will be like, if you want this law to be passed, say aye. If you want this law not if you don't want this law to be passed, say nay. So referendum of plebiscite election is just a yes or no vote. The situation whereby they can just line like 50 people up and say, okay, if you want this person, stay here. If you want this person, stay here. It's like a very old method of election. Do we understand what I'm saying? Do we? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah. So do we understand everything I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I
All
understand.
right. So that's all about the topic we have for today. So for those that are just joining, please can you just signify, can you just talk so we can know you are here. So I can do a very quick one through. Just let me know you are here.
Hi, I'm here.
All right. That's Maureen, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. What? Any other person? I think we have Cynthia here. I'm seeing Cynthia. Is she around? All right, Cynthia. Anything. So let's do a very quick one through. This topic was um, franchise and election. It's a very popular topic, but a lot of people make this mistake. They feel franchise and election are the same thing, but no, they are not. Franchise is actually your political right to vote. That is franchise. What election is the action itself, is the act of voting, is the act of picking a candidate. So that is the difference between franchise and election. I think I saw that question one time in I think white past question or something. The difference between franchise and election. It's a lot of people don't know. So you should be familiar with it. Then we have types of franchise, like I earlier said. We have limited or restricted franchise, and we have unlimited. Now, limited franchise is when your political right to vote is restricted to certain factors. Now, this can include factors such as sex, race, residential qualifications, education, or religion. That means it can actually tell you because you're a male, you're not allowed to vote, or because you're a female, you're not allowed to vote. So your political right is restricted based on your what, on your gender. So we have race. Race is when they say, okay, because of your race, maybe let's say you're actually a black person, you're not allowed to vote in this election, or you're a white person, you're not allowed to vote in this election, or maybe you're an Igbo, you're not allowed to vote in this election, you're Yoruba, you're not allowed to vote in this election. So your political right is restricted based on a particular factor. Now we have the unlimited franchise, which is the common one. Unlimited franchise is you when the unlimited franchise is once you're actually of age, like once you're 18,
Hello.
I think I didn't. I'm actually back on. I don't know, something kicked me out. So I just have to join back again. I don't know what happened.
Apologies accepted.
All right, great. So let's move to, yeah, I was talking about limited and unlimited, and I think I've stressed that point on limited and unlimited. So let's move to the next one that I was talking about, types of suffrage. Now we're talking about this like it's obvious from the word adult suffrage, in which only adults are allowed to vote. Male suffrage, only males are allowed to vote. Taxpayer suffrage, only people that pay tax and they have evidence that they pay tax are allowed to vote. And then we have property suffrage. These are actually they only this is a situation whereby people that have different properties, like a large amount of properties, are allowed to vote. So if you don't have a house or if you don't have properties, you won't be allowed to vote. So let's move to meaning of election really fast. I've done this before, I'm just running through. So like I said, election is the act. Franchise is the political right. Please don't let us forget that. So you can, in case you see a question like that. So, meaning of election. Election is defined as the act of choosing candidates to represent the people of a given country in the parliament, the executive, and possibly into other areas of government as stipulated in the constitution of that country. So, election is basically the act of choosing a candidate you want. It's like a personal thing. You as an electorate, you go and choose anybody you want probably from the ballot paper. You check, you see anybody you want or any political party you want, you pick and then you vote. That's the whole idea of election. It's just about the act of picking someone, picking a candidate in an election. So let's run through purpose of election really fast. It allows for change of government. That is when you actually, due to because of election, if citizens actually encounter a situation whereby they experience bad government for a specific amount of years, let's say in Nigeria 4 years, they know that okay, after these 4 years, we need to remove this government. So election makes that possible. So without election, they won't be able to remove. For example, I think Vladimir Putin is someone that he can't be removed because I don't know how Russia does that thing. I can't even remember. But I know Vladimir Putin has been there for a long time. So that's an example of people that it takes time before. I don't even think they won election. I think the person has to die or something. But I need to confirm that and get back to you before. So let's go to the next one. It gives elected representatives the legitimate right to rule. And like I said earlier, um, legitimacy is one of the basic things that you guys that they would have taught you guys in SS1. Legitimacy is the public acceptance of a candidate, or sorry, not of a candidate, of an elected official. It's the public acceptance of an office. So election allows legitimacy. So if a person just stands up and say, okay, yeah, I'm the president, nobody would believe, nobody will even accept. It's not even the constitution won't accept. But once there's election and the person is voted in, it is legitimate. Everybody knows, okay, this is the new president and it is accepted. So that is the idea of legitimacy. So the third one, the people have the free choice of choosing leaders. This is straightforward. Um, Election allows us to pick anybody we want. Any of the candidates you see that you feel is okay, you pick. That is the idea of free choice. Then the next one, it ensures control and accountability. How? Election actually allows election makes sure it keeps people in check. Normally there's something they call checks and balances in government. It's when a particular arm of government check another arm of government, or a tier of government check another tier of government. But we can also use it in this term in the aspect of election ensures that these political office holders remember that they can be removed after a particular time. So because of that, because they know that they won't be in that position forever, they would ensure that whatever they are doing, they are accountable for their actions. That's the idea of election ensuring control and accountability. We have the next one, election fosters democracy. We all know democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And one of the best ways, or the most important way that the people involve themselves in government is through election. So election promotes democracy. Next one, Electorates are educated about their rights. We all know that it's during election that we hear about a lot of things that has to do with politics. That's when we hear about presidential debates. That's when we hear about manifestos. That's when we hear about a lot of things about government. That's when we hear about public opinion, ombudsman, a lot of things. So, due to election, we learn a lot of things based on political education. We also learn about political rights. That's when they sing it to our ears that we have the right to vote. You get what I'm saying? So that's the idea of election, what election does to educate people about their rights. And the last one, election enhances equality of citizens' votes. Everybody is entitled to just one vote. So because of that, election ensures equality. There is nobody that is above another when it comes to election. We all have just one vote. So is purpose of election clear? Is purpose of election clear? I think I'm not hearing anybody.
Yes, sir. Sir, it's clear, but I have a question, sir.
Is purpose of election clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's clear. It's clear, sir.
All right, great. I think I've even said this to Marvelous before. I think we're repeating because of Maureen and Cynthia. So let's quickly run through types of election. But we have just 5 more minutes left. I guess we can actually draw election again. So let me quickly run through types of election again. Give me a second. Maureen, when did you join the class? Did you join the class when we were talking about types of election, or when?
I joined the class. Yes. I joined the class when you were treating the types of elections, sir.
All right. So you are familiar with, you heard everything I said about types of election, right?
Yeah, you said direct, indirect, plebiscite, runoff, and those stuff. Yeah, I heard.
Those stuff. All right. All right. So since we have all that in place, so any questions? Any questions? That form of steps. Let's do questions.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have questions, sir.
All right. So it's just
Yes, sir. Sir, my question is based on primaries election. So
all right.
we are approaching 2023 election so far.
All
So
right.
I needed primary election to be clear because it's an election done within the party to select a reliable or a credible candidate for the direct election.
Yeah.
So who are the people that are involved in the election?
Now the people that are involved in the election, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir, I'm hearing you.
The people involved in the election are the party members. Now, this election is dependent on the party, and many times it's the party members that will vote for whoever they want. So let's say the party, that's why most times they do something they call convention, in which they all come together. The important people of the parties, they come together. They are the ones that would vote. Are you getting what I'm saying? Marvelous.
Yes, I'm getting what you're saying, sir.
So the primary election is based on the party members. They are the one that will choose who they want. So it's like an election in an election. Primary election is like an election in between parties. Just think about the normal election that we all know. But now it is not happening in the country, it is happening within a political party. So it's just like, okay, let's say, for example, you're a member of APC, yeah, and then it is time for a primary. You have the right to vote for one of the candidates inside APC. So at the end of the day, when they count the vote, then you will be able to pick the person that will represent them. Do we get it?
Yes, sir, I'm getting you.
Yeah. So do you understand how how primary election is carried out now?
Yes, I understand.
All right, great. So any other question? All right, let me ask one last question. All right. All right.
Okay, I need more clarity on the plebiscite. I didn't really get it. Yeah, I got others, but not this plebiscite.
All right. Plebiscite or runoff, right?
Yeah, plebiscite or referendum.
Oh, sorry, or referendum. Sorry. Now, like I said, plebiscite or referendum is what we call the yes or no vote. It's like that one that happens in, I don't know whether representatives, how they actually pass a bill into law. They would actually be like, if you want, if you approve this bill, say aye or something. They will raise up their hand. Some will raise up their hand. Some will say aye. Then if you want this, if you don't want to pass this bill, say nay. Some will actually raise up their hand, and then they count, and then they choose. They make a decision. So referendum or plebiscite is like, okay, we want to choose someone. We have 50 people here. We have three people that we want to vote for. So they'll just say, okay, if you want this person, come to this side. If you want this person, just think of it as an election that we do to pick a class captain. Are you getting the idea now? Can you hear me?
Yes,
More?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Like a yes or no kind of election.
Exactly. You know when you are picking a class captain in a class, they'll be like, okay, if you want Kunle, raise up your hand. If you want Shade, raise up your hand. So that is the yes or no idea. So do we get it now? Is that clear?
Mm-hmm.
Is that all right? Great. So I think that's the end of the class. You have just maybe 30 seconds left. Thanks for attending. Do have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank you
All right,
very
yeah.
much. Thank
All
you.
right, sir. Yeah. All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Maureen can resume playing now.
All right. Yeah. Bye.
Marvelous. I know.